One assessment that we will utilize for the literacy inventory is the core phoneme deletion test. This test is a phonological awareness assessment that may help teachers to determine whether deficits in phonological awareness account for a student's reading or spelling difficulties. This test can be found in the Assessing Reading Multiple Measures book, and it also can be found in the appendix of the HCLI handbook. Now, there's a few things to take note of whenever you are administering this test before you even begin. First of all, the test is separated into 4 parts in order of least difficult to most difficult. So part A is initial phoneme deletion. Part B is final phoneme deletion. Part C is deletion of initial phoneme in a consonant blend. And then part D is deletion of embedded phoneme in a consonant blend. So this is going to be the form you record the testing item responses on. And there's specific directions right here of how to mark a student's response, so be sure and read those carefully. However, before you even give this part of the assessment, you have to look at the practice items and you have to administer those to students. Okay, so there's practice items for each portion of the test. And within each practice item portion, there's directions on what to do if a student doesn't understand or how to proceed if a student does understand. So as I said before, it's very important to read these directions. On the practice items, the directions on how to proceed are usually marked by a little pencil in the words testing protocol. So again, be sure to read those because it will really help clear things up for you if you're confused about what to do if a student happens to miss a practice item or what to do if they get them correct. Now let's dive in. In part A, it's initial phoneme deletion, and how you're going to give these practice items is you're going to say to the student that you're playing a word game, and that game is going to give you information on how to teach them better. So for practice item 1, you're going to say to the student, say the word cat. The student should respond cat. Then now say cat without the k. The student should respond at. Now, if a student does not respond correctly, the how to proceed is right here. It just tells you to really artificially separate the onset from the rhyme and to say something like, okay, let's try that again. Say k, at. Do you see how it's very artificially separated? And then say cat without the k is at. And you're going to encourage that student to give you the correct response. And you're going to repeat this practice item until the student gives the correct response, even if it seems like they don't understand the task. And once that's complete, you're going to move on to practice item 2. And you're going to say the word table. The student should respond table. And then you're going to now say table without the t. The student should respond able. But again, if the student does not give the correct response, there's directions here on how to artificially separate the onset and rhyme and encourage the student to give the correct response. Now, again, here's the testing protocol. Very important you pay attention to this. If a student can correctly respond to the 2 practice items, you're going to go here and you're going to give the testing items in part A. Okay? So if they get these 2, if they are able to respond to these correctly, go ahead to your testing items and complete that. But if the student is unable to respond to the practice items for part A, you're not going to do this part of the test for that student. However, you are going to go ahead and move on to part B, because even though a student may not be able to do initial phoneme deletion task, they may be able to do final phoneme deletion tasks. So once you've determined whether a student goes to part A on testing or if you're just skipping part A and going to part B, we're going to move on to final phoneme deletion. Again, you're going to tell the student that you're playing another word game, and you're going to make sure you tell them that the rules of this game are a little different and to pay close attention. So you're going to say to the student, say the word seat. Then now say seat without the t. The student should respond see. Now, if the student responds incorrectly, you're going to try again, and you're really going to try and you're going to artificially separate the C from the T and elongate it. You're going to say seat. Then say seat without the t is C. You're going to ask the student, so what is seat without the t? C. Yes, seat without the t is C. You're going to encourage the student to repeat the correct response. Again, here's your specific protocol of what to do. If the student can correctly respond to the practice item for part B, you're going to proceed to the testing items for part B. So if they're able to do those practice items, go ahead and come here and administer this portion of the test, and be sure and read those directions right there based on how the student responds. Now, if a student cannot correctly respond to the practice items here or the practice items here, you're going to stop the test, okay? But if the student is able to respond correctly, you're going to go ahead and go to part B and test, and then you're going to come to part C, which is deletion of initial phoneme in a consonant blend. And you're going to say to the student, we are going to do something different now. Pay close attention, and then you're going to give the practice item. Say to the student, say the word slip. The student should respond, slip. Then say, now say slip without the s. The student should respond, lip. Now, if a student responds incorrectly, they have some directions here of what you need to do. If a student happens to say ip instead of lip in that example, you're going to say, be careful, you're taking off too much. I want you to say slip without the s. You need to make sure you emphasize the s and separate it from the lip, okay? So be sure and read those if a student's struggling, and it will guide you on what to do on how to elicit the correct response from them. So going over to the testing protocol, if the student can respond to the practice item for part C, you're going to go ahead and go to part C, and you're going to administer these testing items. Again, here's some specific directions right here on what to do with these 5 items. If a student cannot respond correctly to 2 of these, you're going to stop testing. Okay. But if you make it to part D, you're going to get to the most difficult part of the assessment, and that is deletion of embedded phoneme in a consonant blend. You're going to say to the student, we're going to play another word game, and the rules of this game are a little different. You're going to say to the student, say the word play, then say, now say play without the ooh, and it would be pay, should be the student's response. Now, if the student responds incorrectly, you're going to say, let's try that again. So, for instance, if in play the student deletes the entire pool blend and says A, you're going to say again, be careful, you're taking off too much. I want you to say play without the ooh. And then it gives you instructions on how to model the correct response, and then protocol on what to do if a student is able or unable to answer that practice question. So if a student can correctly respond to it, you're going to go to the Part D section and give those testing items, all right? And then if a student cannot respond, you're going to discontinue testing. Now, let's go back to this teacher record form. What you're going to do when you have given all the items that a student is able to reach in the assessment, you're going to mark the total test items correct right here in this little box. And then you can refer to this level of performance chart right here to determine where your student is on the grade level equivalent.